Hello, anyone there? Greetings, and welcome to my 1940s timeline. Today I'll be talking about what the American dream was like based off the 1940s. I'll be mentioning 5 key events that involved the US and allowed them to grow stronger together and unite as a nation after suffering from what seemed to be an endless depression. First, we're going to take a look at a very specific day in history, December 7th, 1941. It was Sunday morning, just before 8 a.m., when Japanese fighter planes swarmed the air targeting Naval Air Base Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Japan managed to destroy nearly 20 American naval vessels, including 8 battleships and over 300 airplanes. More than 2,400 Americans died in the attack, including civilians. Another 1,000 people were wounded. On December 8, 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt asked Congress to declare war on Japan, beginning the start of the U.S. involvement in World War II. 6 months have passed since the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. The U.S. overall has grown stronger and more united, and they became more and more involved in the war. Over time, the U.S. Naval Intelligence, with cooperation of the British and Dutch, have been reading parts of the primary Japanese Imperial Fleet communication system. This allowed them to acquire information on Japanese plans on a future attack, what is now known the Battle of Midway. On June 5, 1942, the U.S. won one of the most decisive battles against Japan. According to History.com, when the Battle of Midway ended, Japan had lost 4 carriers, a cruiser, 292 aircrafts, and suffered an estimated count of 2,500 casualties. The U.S., on the other hand, had lost the Yorktown, the destroyer USS Hammond, 145 aircrafts, and suffered approximately 300 casualties. The mighty Japanese forces, which seemed to be unstoppable, now suffered immense damage and grew severely weak. On the other hand, the U.S. only grew more united and significantly stronger. As time progresses, the U.S. had made huge impact on which side would win World War II. With a great scientific discovery, a bright day for U.S. would soon lead to the darkest for Japan. The Manhattan Project began in 1939, but finally reached completion at around 5:30 a.m. on July 16, 1945. Los Alamos scientists detonated a plutonium bomb at a test site located in the U.S. Air Force Base at Alamogordo, New Mexico. This became known as the Trinity Test. When the bomb was finally detonated atop a steel tower, an intense light flash and sudden wave of heat was followed by a great burst of sound echoing in the valley. A ball of fire tore up into the sky, then surrounded by a giant mushroom cloud stretching some 40,000 feet across, with a power equivalent to around 21,000 tons of TNT bomb. The bomb completely obliterated the steel tower on which it was resting. This began the start of what we call the nuclear age. Just a month after the successful testing of the atomic bomb, the U.S. had breached into Japan and had been making several attacks in hopes of Japan's surrender. When it became clear that Japan wouldn't give up, the U.S. superweapon was put into use on August 6, 1945. An American B-29 bomber dropped the world's first deployed atomic bomb over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The explosion wiped out 90% of the city and immediately killed 80,000 people. Tens of thousands more would die later of radiation exposure. 3 days later, a second B-29 dropped another A-bomb on Nagasaki, killing an estimated 40,000 people. Japan's Emperor Hirohito announced his country's unconditional surrender in World War II in a radio address on August 15th, citing the devastating power of a new and most cruel bomb. On September 2, 1945, proper terms of surrender were made and the war was officially declared over, leaving America victorious. By the time the war was over, more than 16 million U.S. soldiers were enlisted and over 405,000 gave their lives in the conflict. This was the American dream of the 1940s, a dream of peace and unity within the nation. After the war, America was stabilized and signs of the Depression were long gone. Thanks for listening, and that is all.